All right. All
All
right.
right,
Cool,
go
Miles. So,
Gators.
so Miles, what are we doing today?
Well, we're going to start downloading Unity and setting up an Oculus VR project. So let's
All right.
go first to Unity's website, where you'll go to download for Windows. You'll download the hub.setup somewhere to your computer. And when you go through with the process, you'll be given something like this, which is Unity's hub, which apparently I need to
Well,
update.
what about Oculus? Because don't you need it to make VR games?
Yeah, so we need the Oculus software, which will allow you to connect your headset to your PC for building the project, and then as well as playing it on your computer. So we'll download our software, which is another file, and that'll give us Oculus's application, which you'll be able to go through and set up with your headset under the devices tab when you plug it in. And apparently
Just a tip. When you guys do this setup, if you notice that the USB cable isn't working, sometimes you have to enable it in the Oculus. So after you plug it in, sometimes you need to put the Quest on and say allow from this PC. Just a heads up.
yeah, you'll get a prompt in the computer or in the headset that'll tell you, hey, let's allow your computer to access files on your device, and it'll then be able to connect with your PC. So once we have Unity's hub open, you'll want to go to New Project. You'll pick an editor version, which for us we've been using 22.3.16. As you can see, I have quite a few of them. But this is the second latest. I think there's 17, and by the time this video comes out, I'm sure there'll be an 18.
Yeah, you need the updates like every other week. Just pick the
Every other
version
week.
the latest.
Yeah. This makes it easier for us all to keep on the same page. Usually we'll just download the latest when we start a project and then not update until that project is done. But it's good for us to stay on the latest version because the latest version of Unity comes with the latest versions of all of the XR interactables and the stuff that we'll be using within our code and within our projects through components and whatnot. So it's very important to keep us all in the same version, or we get merge conflicts and nonsense. So the easiest way to start off is just by downloading the 3D core. Sometimes, occasionally, you can just start off with the VR core, or if you're looking to do a URP project, the 3D URP option works as well. These are both easier setups, but this is the one that I'll show you where you can essentially we'll go through all the steps to set up for a VR project using the URP. So over here, you'll come up and create a project name, and then you'll give it a location. On my computer, I have a little GitHub Unity file that allows me to keep track of all my projects and keep them all in GitHub as well. Down here, you'll be able to connect an organization, but if you don't have one, it's fine. I usually just stick to our UF GatorVR. So then you'll come down here and you'll hit Create Project. And when you do that, it'll take a little while, but you'll open up to something like this. Now, this is Unity's little layout. It'll give you an untitled scene to start with, and then down. So here's the layout of Unity. Essentially, in the center here, you have your workspace, where you can is this left click?
Where you like see all the objects and you see all everything that you place in the scene that you will play in the game will be in this little mini this main menu here, this main window here. On like the left side, you have the hierarchy. So this is like just kind of like a file system, but for every object that you place in the scene. So it's just a way for you to keep track of them, and you can place them underneath each other as like child objects, and so that way they all move together with the like the parent object.
Yeah, and in the center window here, you can actually view your scene and use the left click to move the camera, and then WAS and D to move around in the scene, or you can use the scroll wheel to scroll in and out if that's easier for you. And middle click allows you to pan, and sometimes that's a fun way of movement. I personally, because I'm used to playing video games, use the WAS and D to move around, and shift to accelerate. Over here we have movement, the move tool, the rotate tool, the scale tool, the free rectangle tool, transform tool, and the edit bounding volume. The main ones you'll be using are these three. This allows you to move something on either of the three axes, or on two axes at once using one of these squares here. You can also edit something over here in the components section of the inspector. So every object in the scene has something over here in the inspector. You can see the name of the object. You can give it a tag, a layer. These come into play later when you're trying to find things in your code or you're dealing with physics. Your transform is a component that's attached to every object in the scene. Now the transform stores data such as the position, the rotation, and the scale. You can set these values directly here, like setting this to 0, 0, 0 or 0, 1, 0 lifts it up in the air a little bit. Or you can edit them again here in the window, same as the rotation. One of the best parts about using the inspector window is that these are all the global values of the rotation. So on this axis, it will only ever move on this axis, but it'll always move in the global axis. And then if you want to move, but if you see here, if I grab this object and I move it like this, and I move it like this, and now I want to move it just on this axis, it takes a little second. We have to go down here to global, and then we can modify it while it's already turned. It's spun. Okay, so rotations and movement, and that's all fun. There are a few other things here on this specific cube. We have a cube. These are other components. These are a mesh renderer, the mesh filter, which determines that it's a cube. A box collider. The mesh renderer essentially renders it, and we can add materials to it here, or right here. The box collider allows it to collide with other objects in the scene in the physics engine. But we'll get back to that later. Down here at the bottom, we have our project window and our console. Our project window essentially acts as File Explorer. So if I go to our main assets folder here and I click right-click and show an explorer, this is the actual folder at which we downloaded the project to. So we're able to access this from File Explorer in the case that, what if I'd rather not open the project and I just want to put a file in before I send it to my friend? I can just jump in here, go to Assets, and if we had if I add a folder here for like models, and then I put a text document in here, and I said this was my new model, now it's in the project, and then when you go back into Unity, now we have a models folder, and the text document that says this is titled models.
This is
Typically,
really helpful. Wait, I just wanted to add
continue.
Yeah. So this is really helpful if someone is working on 3D models, because they can just save the entire blend file if they're using Blender right there in that File Explorer, and then whenever they edit it, it'll automatically be updated in Unity. So that way they don't have to keep exporting new FBX files from Blender and sending them over to Unity. If they want to just have one file, they can just work in one file.
Cool. Yeah, so typically in our folders, in our main file folder, we'll have things like models, prefabs, which we'll get to later. What else? Hold on. Folder. Materials, and then scripts. Those are our four main ones. Obviously scenes. Sorry, materials, models, prefabs, and scripts. A scene, because I didn't mention that, is essentially this. The scene stores everything that is in your current workspace. So if you jump into another scene, I'm going to save this to my scenes folder. I don't know why it's making me do that. Now if we jump into our main scene, as you can see it changed up here, there's no more cube. So essentially think of it as a large folder that stores all of your data, and you can go back to it and change things. Like if we put another cube in this scene, and we called it rock, and we went to our new scene, it's the cube again, and this one has the rock. So that's how scenes work. We can also transfer between scenes in scripts, which we'll get to in another video. Keith, what's next?
All right. Let's actually add the VR part.
Oh, good
So
point.
how
Good
would
point.
we do that? Yeah.
Okay, so first we need to go to Window, and we need to install a ton of packages. the three main important ones are the XR plugin management, the XR interaction toolkit, and the Oculus XR plugin. So I'll explain each of these. The plugin management allows you to change which headset you're building for. Because we're using the Oculus one, we need to download the Oculus plugin package, and then using the plugin management package, we're able to initialize and load those headsets and those inputs. The interaction toolkit, on the other hand, allows us to create interactables, interactors, and it comes with a whole set of pre-coded components that we can use to make our games without having to code so much unnecessary stuff ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and download these just by hitting the install button. And then we will have those three downloaded. Yeah, they're all dependent on each other. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've downloaded all of this fun stuff. Now we need to go into our project settings and actually switch over to the Oculus for both desktop and VR Android applications. So we jump over to XR plugin management down in the project settings. There are three plugin providers. Obviously, we're choosing Oculus because I don't know the last time I worked on a open XR project. And especially for Android, if we're going to build to a headset, we're going to want to open it with Oculus. So that's good. And then we go down to Oculus, and you can see all of your little settings for the different types of headsets. I always click on Quest 3 because I have both a Quest 2 and a Quest 3. Input manager, input system package. Okay, cool. So that's good for XR setup here. Then we have to go into our build settings, and we need to build it. We need to set our build to Android if we're building for the Quest. However, oh no, yeah, I can still switch platforms with Android.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And still run it on my computer as though it were running in PC VR. Because when you hit play, it's not building it; it's just running it.
Yeah. You can also add the XR device simulator, so that way people can test it without having to input the headset.
Yes.
Without having to use a headset.
And that works sometimes. It's
a little complicated.
It's a little complicated, and it's very poorly set up, but it does allow you to play the games in Unity using keybinds and such. I don't have a device plugged in right now, but I will in a minute. Oh, and before you actually build, you're always going to want to add your open scenes, or add any of the scenes that are necessary to your game. Right now I have main open, and that's fine. We can just build it with that, and I'll just put everything we do in main. So what's next, Keith?
Yeah, well, can you show us that demo scene that comes automatically with the XR device plugin? Because a lot of the times, really, a lot of the functionality you need is already in the demo scene. If you need to go to it, Miles, you need to go to the packet manager. And then if you go over to the extra interaction toolkit, they have the extra scene, the samples. Yeah.
You need before anything, you do need the starter assets. Those are very important. This allows you to use the input actions without actually building all the input actions yourself because it's a pain. But here we can also download the interaction demo.
Yeah, just grab all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. You can also import the device simulator there as well.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, that's fine. So now we're going to start with creating an XR rig. So what I'm going to first do here is going to create a ground object using a plane. We're just going to call it ground. We're going to focus on it using F. We should also set it to 0, reset its position, and then if I go click on it and click F, now we have the ground. We also need to delete the main camera from our scene because if we have two cameras, it gets finicky. So what we do is we go to right click and then we go to XR and we create a action-based XR origin. So this is built into Unity. compared to a device-based, which is a little bit more complicated. But an XR-based or action-based VR system is the easiest one to create. So we'll call this one the player, and it's right there. But we're going to set it back to 0, 0, 0. So what we typically do is we'll go in and we'll grab it and we'll give it tracking origin to the floor, and it already has the entire player, the camera offset, and the main camera. Now, under our player is a little hierarchy of system stuff. So the camera offset is essentially where your head is. So that's why the main camera is right underneath it, and this is tracked to where your head is using a tracked pose driver. So here it uses these two actions, which are built in with the XR sample projects, which is why we installed this. The starter assets. So these are the input actions we'll be using in a moment. So the left controller, as you can see, we have a ton of input actions to put in. I'm not going to go over all of these because it would take a really long time. But essentially, what you'll do is for the position action, you'll go in and you'll hit use reference, and you'll drag in, you'll click here, and you'll go to left controller position. Left position. And I'm going to spell everything wrong. And you'll go to left-hand position, and this one. And you'll do this for the rest of them. There's a rotation action, a tracked action, tracking state, select action, all this jazz. So we're going to cut, and I'll come back to when I have all these filled out, for both the right and the left. Now that I've put in all my actions for my left and my right controller, you'll notice that there are some other components attached to this object. By the way, these two objects are the locations of your controllers in the real world. So essentially, they will track the position, the rotation, the scale of your hands, wherever they are, as compared to your head, which is tracked by the main camera. So our left controller has all of our left-hand actions, and then we go down, and there's also an XR ray interactor, as well as an XR line visual, and that is on both of these. There's the ray interactor and the line renderer as well. This essentially allows you to interact with things from a distance. It casts a large ray from your hand that when collide with things, it allows you to interact with them, such as UIs, grab interactables, stuff like that. We'll go over that in another video in more depth. Today, we're focused on getting your player moving. So what you'll do here is you'll add the XR continuous movement. I spelled continuous wrong. Or, wait, hold on. Continuous move provider. And we want it action-based. This allows us to allow the player to move around. We also need a locomotion system and a player controller, or a character controller, and a character controller driver. These all do very simple things. The character controller creates a character that allows the locomotion system to move you around. You can drag the XR here and then also into the locomotion system. What this doing is essentially it is finding these components that these scripts all need. These are all public variables that are looked for by the scripts. But for the most case, they will automatically find themselves, especially things like the locomotion system and the player XR version, because those are made by Unity. They already know what they're doing. So they know that you're going to put this on your player that already has all that stuff. But your forward source is your player. You could also set that to your camera, and then anywhere you would look would be where the camera is facing. But for now, I prefer to have it to facing the forward version of the character, because then when we turn it, it allows us to move which direction we were facing, and we can look while also moving in a direction. So movement is typically controlled by the left controller. I just find that happens in most interaction, or most experiences, most games. So what we do here is we'd go to left hand locomotion move. Okay, so this is the simple, just the regular move one. This allows us to move using the left joystick. That'll be helpful because, who teleportation is really obnoxious. there's a lot more work that goes into teleportation than just this. We need to set up our own ray interactors and stuff like that. So that'll be a whole nother video entirely. The other thing we want to add is a continuous turn provider. This is also action-based. I can move it up here just to make it a little easier to see. And this one is with our right hand, and it's the same right hand locomotion turn provider. Snap, turn, move, turn. Here we go. So there we go. That's our turn input. And this allows us to control the speed. And we also want to drag our locomotion system into there. But then again, I'm pretty sure it does it for us. So that is how you create a player. Very simple, very easy, quick to set up. Next video, we're going to get into interactables. So we'll tell you how to create grab interactables and direct interactables for your hands. And then also use the ray interactors to interact with things from a distance. So we're going to play. We're going to test this out. Okay, so now we're in the game, and you can see I have hands. I don't have hands. That's important. Okay, so what I forgot. You're going to want to be able to see something here under your hands, or you're just going to have some blank thing moving around. The rays, they show you where your hands are, but they're really not super helpful. So what we're going to do here is we have these hands from a package that we were given by Valum. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure these were given to him or they were made from Oculus, but I'm not sure. I will link them where you can find them in the description. However, you'll want these little prefabs. So you have a left hand and a right hand, and we can animate them later. But for now, we're just going to leave them as objects that will track to your hand. And you can see they are here. And you know what I'll do is I'll show you how to make a material. So creating a very simple material, it's like just a one color material. That's not a material, that's a lens flare. You'll right click, go to create, and go down to material. And we'll call this hands. And we'll make it something funny, like a purple. And maybe we'll make it super metallic and shiny. And then to apply this, all you gotta do is drag it onto an object in the scene. Or you can go directly to the object's geometry to wherever this material would be held, and you can just say, here, make it purple. So now we have hands. They won't animate, but they'll at least allow us to track where our hands are in the scene. So now I'm in game. I have two hands, and you can see the ray traces, the ray interactors that are booming from my hands, that currently don't do anything because we don't have anything set up with them. However, if I use my right hand, this is my right hand, yeah, my right hand, I can turn using the joysticks, which feels great to me. Some people don't like it. It's all about how fast you're turning and how fast you're moving. If your gameplay is a quick game and you want to be able to move a lot, you're probably going to set it to, you're probably going to not move at all using the joysticks. Something like Super Hot uses just your room scale interaction, so it would just be like if I physically move to the left, I did not use my joysticks to move here, but I'm definitely to the left to where I was. This is the right, but to the right of where I was before. And now, if I want to move using the joysticks, we did set that up. Now the movement's a little bit slow, but it is there. We do have physical movement. I can use the joysticks to move around, and my forward remains the direction the forward is, even if I turn my face to this way. So, that's continuous movement. That's how to set up your player.
Alright. You always sound like you die every time you take off the headset.
Alright, so the last thing we're going to do today is show you how to build your project. So if you go to File and you go to Build Settings, now we've already set our project to Android, and we've already added our scene to main. Now all we have to do is go down to our default device and we click Oculus Quest 3, or whatever headset you have plugged in right now. I don't know if I'm giving away information with this code. I don't know what that means. But Keith is going to put a black bar over that later. All you got to do, if it doesn't show up, you can hit the refresh button. If you had a development build, you can patch, which just allows you to not have to push everything every time. Makes it very easy. But what you'll do is you hit build and run, and it'll ask you to place the APK somewhere on your computer. Usually I put it in my desktop in a folder we'll just call it test. You'll name the APK, hit save, and it'll start building. And this is going to take too long for the video, so we're going to cut.
Do 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 do. I don't know how the rest of the Bob Ross music goes.
I don't think I've ever watched Bob Ross except for the fact that one time he was on live. It's always on live TV whenever I open my live TV on my TV.
You know Bob Ross is on live TV.
Yeah. All right. So now the project is built, and because you click build and run on your headset, it should actually just open the application it just installed, which is really helpful, especially when you're at a game jam and you're trying to build over and over and over again, and you just want to play. So right now my headset is actually on running the game, but I'm not going to put it on. So that's all we have for today. We've gone over creating a VR rig, installing all the packages you need for your VR, how to build your project, how to run your project, and stuff like that. So in the next video, we'll see you for Interactables. Have a great day. Go Gators.